everyone, David Hatch here again. I'm a business and leadership consultant from the UK, and today I'll be talking about recent technology trends and what their impacts on leadership and the workplace could be in the future. Last week we looked at some trends based in ideas and theories, and this week we're moving on to some of the technical trends that I see as the most relevant to management. Hello again, and thanks for joining me once more. Today I'll be talking about some recent technology trends and how they might affect leadership and the workplace in the future. In last week's video I was doing the same thing for ideas and theories that have stood out to me recently, and I did have to be quite selective or picky as there are so many of those to choose from. In a way, the same is true of technology and the pace of change with it. However, there are some very clear trends that have been steadily rising in recent years that will have particular relevance to the future of work and leadership. As we discussed in the last video, technology is in an almost constant state of change and development. With such a rapid pace of change, it's really hard to keep track of what the latest phones or factories, computers, cars, even homes are now capable of. From a business point of view, I'm quite interested in what some of these technological changes might mean for leaders or managers and how they might change the nature of the workplace. So again, there are three emerging trends in technology that I think are relevant to this and worth discussing today. And they're likely to become increasingly interconnected in the future workplace. So the three trends for today's video are remote working, online learning, and artificial intelligence. For obvious reasons, remote working is something that many of us have had to become familiar with over the last 18 months. The big question right now is whether remote working is going to remain, or if people have had enough of it and they won't want to continue doing it by choice. There's some evidence for both. It's probably too early to tell, but there are some big names, for example, such as Twitter and Google. They've already made public statements that their staff can continue working from home indefinitely. Meanwhile, Apple has been in the news recently for what appears to be an internal disagreement between management and staff regarding the future of their hybrid workplace policy and a general resistance, it seems, to returning to the office for any mandatory number of days. I think what's going to be important now is offering flexibility. One big silver lining of the pandemic forcing working from home for so many companies is that a lot of employees have been able to finally realise the benefits of flexible working. Full-time working from home certainly isn't for everyone, but that's the beauty of the word flexible. If you want to do a few days a week at the office, once you're allowed to, then you could. Or if you'd prefer to be full-time working from home and only attend the office for key client meetings or whatever, then that should be fine too. Employers who recognise the benefits of flexibility will see the most rewards in areas such as productivity, loyalty, and staff retention. And what about the technology, since this is after all the topic of the video today? As far as remote working goes, the enabling technologies have been around for years. Video conferencing tools like Skype and Zoom, Google Hangouts, they were all fairly well established before the pandemic, as were several of the other tools involved in managing work remotely, so the communication tools, productivity, project management, things like Asana, Jira, Slack, Microsoft Teams, just to name a few. We also had co-editing capabilities in various day-to-day Office software like Office 365, for example, from Microsoft, and Google Docs. So in theory, none of this technology or software was new. What I think has changed is the adoption of these technologies to a much greater extent, in a more widespread fashion and even in a deeper sense. Zoom or video conferencing is a good example. There's no doubt subscriber numbers have multiplied for those products, probably exponentially, but they're also being used now in a new and completely different way. Whereas before, video conferencing might have been used maybe once a week for remote meetings with overseas clients or to conduct software demos. Now it's become a daily and in some cases hourly requirement, and it's essential to many businesses' survival during the pandemic. So if, as seems to be on the cards, remote workplaces or even hybrid flexible ones are to remain the norm in the future, then these types of technology will only grow in importance. And another trend in technology that I think will continue to grow alongside remote working is the kind of one-stop shop of products that combine all of those various tools into a single platform or offering. G Suite and its equivalents would be an example of this, which currently provides video conferencing, word processing, spreadsheets, as well as emails, calendars, CRM, project management tools, and more via integrations, but all bundled into one price, one service, one contract, one product effectively. And it's even recently been renamed Google Workspace, which gives a clear indication, I think, of the direction that things are moving. Online learning is another area where we've seen a huge rise in uptake during the pandemic, particularly in countries where there were furlough arrangements and so on. Many people, myself included, took the opportunity of the extra time at home to gain new qualifications. And distance learning via a range of online offerings is not only a cost-effective way to do this, but during the pandemic it's been a necessity too. So many new businesses and training platforms or opportunities have been created by the last 18 months that I think this is either a bubble that's about to burst as lockdowns go away and we all return to offices, or it's like remote working and it may be here to stay. The advantages of online learning go beyond just being cheaper. It also offers more flexibility, there's that word again, and enables you to learn at your own pace while balancing it around work or personal commitments, all of which should make it more attractive from your employer's perspective as well. Much like remote working tools, many of the technologies behind online learning have been around for some time. But where I see a difference is in the pace of development over the last year or so. These training platforms and what's available are, from what I've seen, much more polished and sophisticated now than they were even a couple of years ago. And I see further opportunities for improving and refining the way training and qualifications are delivered, managed and verified digitally as well. So I think this is something we're going to be seeing a lot more of in the future. And finally, artificial intelligence, or AI. This one is not like the others in most respects, although it isn't a new technology. It has been around for some years now. But it's certainly been a big focus in many industries in recent years. And I'm mentioning it in this video because I think that the use of AI is now approaching the stage where it can have a valuable impact on the way we manage and operate our businesses, as well as adding to products or services as we've seen before so far. An important thing to remember is that AI isn't a silver bullet. It's like any other data-centric system. It's only as good as the information you put in. Where AI excels is in areas where repetitive tasks, numbers and patterns are involved. Whether that mean replacing the human in a financial analysis task or identifying specific features in a given image and many things in between. Are we going to be replaced by the machines? No, or at least not in this lifetime. Probably. But what is it likely to mean for leaders and managers? The short answer is that the more management functions could get quicker and easier. Things like monitoring KPIs or financial performance, perhaps even running the accounts or similar exercises, should become less of a focus for the human manager, perhaps removed from their role entirely in the future. What that will mean, I think, is the human manager will need to become more focused on the things that can't be done by technology, the human factor, the soft skills elements, such as leadership. They will be a much bigger priority for the manager of tomorrow, so much so that the word manager may even start to disappear from job titles to be replaced by leader. What I think is the central message in all three of these tech areas is that the workplace of the future is going to require much more human interaction from people in leadership and management roles than you might expect. Remote workforces, in my opinion, need more frequent or more conscious and deliberate human interaction than if they're just sat at the desk next to you. And I don't mean this in the sense of micromanaging people. I mean the more culture and engagement kind of interaction that's focused on the person and less on the individual tasks. The more dependent our day-to-day work becomes upon these various technologies, and the more removed we become from each other and the workplace, the more important this human interaction element is going to become. Flexibility is also going to be key. Managers of the future will need to work on the basis that flexible working is a right, an expectation, and the norm, not a benefit or a gift as it may have been seen in the past. And that's the end of today's video. I hope you found it enjoyable. If you did, then please feel free to click the like button so that the YouTube AI knows about it. And you can also leave me a comment, which I'd love to read, and even subscribe to the channel to be notified when I post next week's video, which is going to close out this topic by talking about the trends in people management. Finally, if you're a new manager and you're interested in learning more about leadership or developing your skills, then I've put a few links in the description below the video where you can learn more about my coaching, mentoring and training programs. Thanks for watching, take care and be a leader, not a boss.